Have you ever been on the road in a foreign country? Maybe you've driven a car there and it's absolutely insane. They drive on the wrong side of the road, or they don't stop. They have circles that they drive on, and people are going everywhere, and they push into your car and theirs, and it's just crazy. And you yearn for the security of the boundary of the rules that you grew up with. Well, the Apostle Paul is in prison, and there he's facing execution. He's troubled, no doubt, because he left Timothy in charge of the church in Ephesus, the church that he gave his life for, his blood, sweat, and tears. That's his favorite church. And some people have gotten in and taught false doctrine, pulled the church away. And so Paul is very concerned for his young friend Timothy. As he teaches Timothy how to keep first things first, he's going to talk to him about the importance of rules. He says, remind them, these are the people in the church, remind them of these things and charge them before God. That's a really, really strong statement. What does he charge them to do? Here's the rules. Not to quarrel about words, which does no good, but only ruins the hearers. Do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who has no need to be ashamed, rightly handling the word of truth. I think it's really interesting that Timothy is told, look, don't get into quarreling and gossip and wrong use of words. He says, do what? Get into God's word. Get into the truth. And in doing that, you'll have your course set for you. First things first. And then he goes further, avoid irreverent babble, for it will lead people into more and more ungodliness, and their talk will spread like gangrene. Yuck! You ever seen gangrene? It's terrible. When a foot is infected with gangrene, sometimes they have to take the whole foot if they can't fight the infection, because it'll destroy the whole body. And then he talks about people who have gone off the rails when it came to their spiritual life. They thought they had it all together, and they taught things that were completely wrong. He goes on and he says, now in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and silver, but also of wood and clay, some for honorable use, some for dishonorable. Therefore, if anyone cleanses himself from what is dishonorable, he will be a vessel for honorable use, set apart as holy and useful to the master of the house, ready for every good work. If we decide to live by God's pattern that we talked about last week, and here down and lower in the passage, he talks about pursue righteousness and faith and love and peace along with those who call on the Lord from a pure heart. There's that pattern emerging again in the text. Do that, and we'll have a great impact. So here's the question. How's your words? How's your speech? When people hear you, do they feel lifted up and encouraged by words of life or words of death? Here's the challenge. When you feel tempted to engage in gossip, quarreling, discourse that's not building people up, instead, go spend time in God's word and apply God's principles and see how it prepares you to be used in a situation. Man, I'm having a hard time on words tonight. Situation like you never dreamed possible. May God's joy fill your heart as you and I live out his word. God bless you. I'm Pastor Tim, and this is our journey through Timothy, 2 Timothy, as we put first things first.